one. Lakosia, are you up?
Yes, I am. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So happy to see you guys. So happy to have you guys here. Just put your location in the chat so that we know who you are and where you're located. I believe a lot of us are joining online. How many people do we have in person, Jim?
One. Two. Well,
two. Yes, most people are really getting used to virtual. Norfolk, Virginia, awesome. Good morning, Crystal and Chris. Virginia Beach, Washington, D.C. Very nice. We're so excited to be here today. I think this is going to be a great cohort. This is our third run as far as the incubator program, but we've done this also in the form of workshop several times. And so nice to have you guys. Very good morning. So I'm just going to do a quick presentation to kind of let you guys know about the university resources that we have to offer through the Innovation Center, and just talk slightly about the incubator program. And then Jim and Bill will take over for today's lesson. How does that sound? Let me know if there are any questions. I'm gonna have to share my screen. I hope you can reshare, Tiffany, if that's okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. So the vision for the center really started over 3 years ago, when we noticed that there was a lot of funding and venture capitalist funds that is not going to the underserved community. So we decided to put this program together. The Dean of Norfolk State, myself, and Jim came along pretty quick after that. And so this vision of being able to be a champion of innovation and to foster a robust, thriving community for innovators and entrepreneurs in the Hampton Roads. The university is located in Hampton Roads. And so that's the whole point, is to be able to cast that vision. Our mission here is to help entrepreneurs with all the resources that you need to be able to take your idea from the idea stage to be able to launch, start making profit, and be able to get funding as well. So we have a huge aim and attention to helping people think scalable and helping people think high growth and innovative. So you'll be hearing some of those terms and the how-tos from the next 12 weeks that we have together. Like I mentioned a bit about funding, less than 2% of Black entrepreneurs receive venture capitalist funds, and for Black women, it's less than 0.1%. So we've been pushing hard the past couple of years to gather investors that will understand the type of problems that the underserved community, the Black community are solving, and that they will be willing to fund. And so we've been quite successful in a short period of time on that. And so our solution, and it's not just the funding, right? But education, being able to be prepared and ready, right? When that opportunity comes to build relationship with our investors, you are ready and you are educated, you have your tools, your deliverables, your way of communicating to them, and all that will be offered in today's program, this next 12 weeks. This is an intense program to be able to have the deliverable and prepare your mind mentally to be able to get, whether it is access to capital or a team that you want to build, the next stage to your growth. And so we're going to require you guys to work hard with our consultants, and we're going to push through together. And I know that based on your applications, you guys are ready. So just a quick a little bit about what else you can get from the Innovation Center is that we have other ongoing trainings, uh, bi-weekly, and so you can get access to that. Once we add you to our mailing list, you'll be able to know what other things are going on in the Innovation Center. And in this program, you get to have an assigned consultant that you will be meeting with weekly starting next week. All right. So if you are in person and you're around Norfolk State, you have access to our meeting space, because this program is actually considered our signature program. So everyone that is accepted into this cohort have access to our space. You can use it to have meetings. You can use it to just do work. So if you're interested in that, you can let myself know or Valerie know. And you've already been receiving emails from Valerie. I'll talk a little bit about our team in a little bit. So welcome. That's a bit about the Innovation Center. We're very into experiential learning. So you're going to be doing as you're learning throughout the week. This is not just a workshop. You're going to have assignments. You're going to have deliverables so that you can have an investor package ready by the end of the program. So that's what we're about, is experiential learning, is learning and doing. And the team, our team for the center includes Dean Glenn Carrington, who is the Dean of Norfolk State University, and we call him the pioneer of the Innovation Center. We also have an executive advisor, Dr. Rhonda Alexandra. And I think one of our cohorts actually knows Dr. Rhonda, and that's how she got into the program. And then myself, I'm the director for the Norfolk State University Innovation Center. We have our brilliant staff here. Valerie, you'll be hearing a lot from Valerie. She'll be sending that weekly emails and reminders to make sure that you're staying on top of things. Yasmin is our marketing person. She is the reason why you probably got here today, behind marketing. And Tiffany is in person. She's our event coordinator and our education coordinator. And Carissa is our logistic coordinator. So if you have any questions for any of our team members, our email list is here. This slide will be made available on the Slack channel, and I'll talk about Slack in a little bit as well, so you can contact us. All right, so I'm gonna quickly share program structure. If you guys have any questions, you can just unmute and ask your question or put it in the chat, and Tiffany will help us get those questions answered. But I'm gonna keep going, but you can interrupt me if you have any questions. All right, so the program structure, this program is 12 weeks. It's gonna be 2 hours, once a week in a classroom format, which you're in right now. The first is going to be like, more educational, formal presentation. And then the first part will move into discussions, your assignment, and all that type of format. And then starting next week is when you'll really see this format take place. But today we kind of have to do some orientations before we get started. And then you will also be meeting weekly with your consultants. So you're not just going to meet this 2 hours, but you will also have an hour during the week to meet with your consultant, starting next week. And then we have templates available for you to make sure that you get to that deliverable. We want to see everyone have a ready investor package at the end of this program. All right. Not everyone is going to be able to present to our investors if you are not quite ready, right? Because we don't want to put you in a bad position of discouragement, maybe. So everyone that is ready will have the opportunity to present to our investors. Then, of course, there will be weekly assignments, and then you will have opportunities to present during the week. week by week so that you will get comfortable by the end of the 12 weeks or close to the 10th week. All right. So the deliverables, I like to talk about the deliverables a lot because having that in mind will make the program very, very easy. All right. Because you're going to hear a lot. But at the end of it all, you want to make sure that you have our investor business plan. We have a template for you for that. You also want to make sure that you have your 5-year financial projections. We have templates for that. And also you want to make sure you have your pitch deck. Some of you may already have your pitch deck, but you're going to revamp it and modify it based on what you learned from our instructors and our consultants. So have the deliverables in mind and you'll be good. All right. The templates are supposed to help you, do your assignments so that at the end of it, you have the deliverable. And I hope that makes sense. All right. So the last 2 sessions, we're kind of revamping it this semester. It's actually going to start on the 10th week. And the 11th week and the 12th week, you're going to hear about pitching, practicing. You're going to even start meeting our investors from the 10th to the 12th week. So be in expectation for that as well. All right. All right. You already know about the weekly emails. They are going to be coming through Valerie. So please watch out for that from us. And that will be good reminders of what's next, right? So you will make sure that you are you're moving steadily with us. All right. I think I have said about enough. Jim will talk more about the program, but that's my part of it. I think right now we want to hear from the participants for this program. Should we start with the people in person?
Yeah, let's do.
Awesome. You can just, as it's on the screen, your name, your idea, and your business idea, and what you're expecting for the program.
Good morning. Do I just talk into the air?
Yeah.
And everyone in person and everyone online. My name is Rashida Best, and I am an artisan jeweler and owner of Aladouri LLC. I create and sell unique handcrafted jewelry for the refined person who wants to celebrate culture, artistry, and natural and sustainable materials.
And it's beautiful, by the way.
Nice to meet you. We have one more person?
We have two more people.
2 more people. Awesome.
Hello, my name is Trinity Scott. I am the owner of Shenanigans Hair Tea LLC, where I create all natural hair products for Black men and women to nurture healthy hair. And I expect from this program to learn a little bit more about business, because I basically started my business fresh out of high school and I didn't have any guidance or legal structure. So that's what I'm doing.
Sounds fun. Sounds interesting.
Thank you.
You've been at it in high school, then you probably get pretty good at it.
Hi, everybody.
Well, hi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Samantha Caballero. Everybody calls me Sam. My company is called Swim with Sam, but soon to be called Swim Theory, as we are structuring and going through a brand change. My company helps Black women overcome their fears of the water to finally enjoy their life and turn their bucket list into their lifestyle through private swim lessons. I also do kid lessons, yes. Yes, my goal in this program is to refine all of the deliverables that we actually have, to refine my business plan, to have my pitch deck be top tier, and practice presenting, because my goal is to get investors for my company.
That's all we have in person, Ecosia.
Okay, awesome. Sounds very interesting for all of it. So let's go ahead and start with Rosalind online.
Good morning. Hello,
Good morning.
everyone. Actually, zooming in from Herndon, Virginia. and I'm the owner of ZR&R Holdings LLC. And my business is in the pre-startup phase. I created a unique shower head that I plan to launch into the market. And I hold several patents on it. And I also am working on, actually filed an application for my trademark as well. So my goal for this program is to actually refine my business plan and my projections, and also hopefully pitch and gain some capital from investors. So I'm really excited.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Very nice. All right. Keisha has her camera on. Thank you, Keisha. Nice to see you.
No problem. Hi, thank you. And I'm grateful to be in the program. My name is Keisha Crosby. I'm the founder and CEO of TriGuard Risk Solutions. I created a product called Sacred, which stands for Software Assurance, Compliance Verification, Risk Evaluation. Sacred helps to secure software from weaknesses so that you don't go to market with weaknesses in your buggy software, and you could fix it without having to constant repair, fix, look at. My goals for this accelerator is to refine my pitch, get the pitch more refined, investor ready, and then hopefully to get investment. I'm the first Black woman to win the SBIR from DOE, Nuclear Science and Technology, and I'm also the first Black woman to win a phase 2 for the Navy. So I'm just trying to get it commercial ready pitch.
And that you will get. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Michaela Williams. Are you there, Michaela?
Don't forget to come off mute.
I actually don't see her. Okay, let's try Diana Matthews.
Hi, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you guys as well. My name is Diana Matthews. I am the CEO for Bountiful Hydroponics, and my goal is to open up a hydroponics company, produce hydroponics company in the New Kent, Virginia area, and to serve the tri-county areas surrounding New Kent. The majority of the population there is rural. I mean, it's growing though, because we're kind of a midway point in between Richmond and Williamsburg, and even going as far out as the Tidewater area. And so I know from working with ICAP, I've done customer discovery, and a lot of the locals are interested in locally grown produce. One of my hobbies is farming and just gardening per se. And I wanted to be able to impact and make a change with climate, because, you know, things of just how we're doing things every day now with emissions and everything, and just food insecurity is a big thing. And so I wanted to impact food insecurity in a great way. And so came up with the idea for a hydroponics company in our area. And so I wanted to join this program because I know that it'll help me strengthen my business plan. It'll help me develop a better pitch deck and overall strategies to be able to branch and become an actual full-fledged hydroponics company. The things that I've done so far is pretty much licensing, getting my name, creating websites, just everything kind of basics of getting everything together. And so I think this incubator program will be truly helpful for me in, again, growing and eventually launching and actually growing my first piece of produce from hydroponics.
Awesome. Sounds exciting. Lots of opportunity
Yes.
in that area. Fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Crystal, are you there?
I am. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal Lugo, and I am the founder and inventor of a innovative fishing glove called the Glove Scaler, which is a 2-in-1 product where you can grip and scale fish by simply using your hands. And there's currently no other product as in similar to design like my glove, the Glove Scaler. It is fully patented, fully trademarked, and we're ready to actually get it mass produced. So my goal and my plan is to definitely collab and network with entrepreneurs. I love the inventing process, so just love to give value. So if anyone has questions about the inventing process, I could tell you from my 10-year journey. But also to learn from the mentors because they've been there, right? So just to learn and to be ready to pitch, to grasp an investor or investors to get these gloves on the consumer's hands.
Awesome. Well said, Crystal.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Mr. Key, since you're on camera, would you like to go?
I wasn't quite sure the order that you was going to go in, so I would just wanted to be prepared. So greetings, everyone. Good morning. Brett and Key. I'm the founder and owner of DateJar, which is a interactive app that's available on both Google and Android that allows you to find creative date suggestions, ideas, plans, and everything basically from end to end. Nobody's out there doing what I'm doing, and currently been launched for about 6 months now and have 515 plus users. And in addition, it's been a great journey right now to see where this is evolving to and the whole process. Currently as well, we just launched over last week our first product that complements the app, which is a playing card game. And then as well, we're also preparing to launch date coaching services. I say we a lot, but I'm mostly a one-man band. And what I hope to gather from this is just different ways to make what I'm doing a little bit leaner, find out the opportunities that I can to cut costs, ways to accentuate the things that I'm doing very well, and also find different ways to garner more exposure that crosses the US. We just kicked off actually the second level of development, which is actually pretty substantial cost. Because right now I'm delivering some features and sets that's not currently in the market. So also in this, I want to learn how to ensure that I am going to be first to market and as well have the competitive advantage that I've currently been working on. Just shameless plug, if you guys have a phone, download it or follow the socials, my DateJar or mydatejar.com, just give it a check out. Again, it's not a matchmaking app, like it's an app that's designed for finding things to do and allowing you to make it happen with very little little opposition. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Key. That sounds good. So you're the developer and the marketing person to get users?
Yes, okay. I am. I just to be honest and fully fair is that I did design a lot of the app and early things myself, but I realized there was a point where I didn't have that skill set. So I found a development company to take me to the finish line, so to speak. And then as well, I have some small agreements with different marketing, customer relationship management, and as well, even that also includes like an email campaign and a few other things as well. But that's how right now I'm currently ran. But I do daily operations, and I still technically have my day job, but I'm working on this more and more every day and have been doing so for like the past year, like every day. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Good to have you. No problem. Cool. Let's see. Hi, Mercy. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mercy Best. I'm a scientist and founder of STEAM Kits. We're an education company that makes hands-on learning activities for students to keep them engaged and excited. I am really looking forward to the financial side of this course, really building that 5-year projections, and then also that investor's business plan. And I have a pitch deck, but like you said before, I'm really excited about modifying it and getting that coaching and really that mentorship support. So excited to be here.
Thank you, Mercy. Awesome. Jennifer, are you there?
Hi, y'all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm coming to you with COVID from a distance. So apologize, I sound like this. Like Mercy, I am also a scientist, and I went through 16 months of infertility. My husband and I couldn't afford the next round of invasive treatments, and so I invented a medical device that in 2 months conceived my daughter after about 1.5 years of infertility. So I called our product Fertile because I was labeled infertile, but it's spelled with a PhD. Thank you. PHERDAL. And I launched our proof of concept last year. We've sold out of 200 kits in 90 days, and we have 21 other mothers on the way. So it's an at-home fertility option that people can use. And we've started crowdfunding to get through our FDA clearance, and we've raised about $350,000, and I quit my job in July. So I am here terrified, ready to learn everything I can as we try to get our product to market. And I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. We're excited to have you. Good to see you. Chris, could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Thanks for the introduction, and nice to follow Fertile. Chris Bennett, the founder of TIL. Our mission is to break through structural barriers to innovation by historically marginalized and underrepresented communities by making it easier and less costly for them to protect and monetize their innovation. We recently finished the NASDAQ Milestone Makers program for customer market fit for a software application that we're combining with a digital service we're already delivering to over 100 clients in 3 different continents. And the exciting part about this program with Norfolk State, in addition to listening to these amazing stories from the other participants, is we think we're in a solid position to raise our first round of venture capital or investor capital. And we're a social impact play that I would describe us as Patagonia meets Ace Hardware stores for intellectual property law. So I'm looking forward to the entire program. Thank you.
Awesome. It's exciting that you and Mr. Key have a prototype. So we're really going to help you with the business development side of things here in this program. And I think last but not least, Mr. Dennis.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Dennis Perot, the founder of Pixelar. Pixel's in the name for a reason, because we're trying to create a web and data platform that will help, starting with farmers or agronomists, make better use of data from satellite imagery. So the pixels from coming from space, and potentially also supporting the use of drones for crop scouting. We are in the prototyping stage right now as a bootstrapped effort, but have applied to VIPC for their Commonwealth Commercialization Fund to try to get a grant to fund finishing that MVP and doing some product validation testing with the 2023 growing season is the goal. And my hope for participating in this program is to finalize and refresh everything that we need from a marketing and pitch perspective, so that if that validation starts to show progress and value and maybe even traction, we're ready to speak with investors for potentially some seed funding or engagements with the 757 Angels Network. But really excited to learn and get the support, mentorship, advice to keep pushing forward, and happy to be among this group working a wide variety of things.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice to meet you as well. I did not forget about you, Miss Lee. You can go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lee Taylor Nelms, Lee Taylor Nelms LLC, very original name. I think I consider myself to be a digital storyteller. I've won some awards in that regard, and I stepped into this space because I really enjoy creating measurable learning strategies and communications materials for businesses. I worked as a consultant for Booz Allen Hamilton for about 8 years, and 8 years, not 80, 8 years. And when I was there, I really learned how to deal specifically with government clients. So I was dealing with a lot of federal agencies, helping them with their HR strategies, with their digital communications, with their virtual worlds, with a lot of kind of high tech virtual communications and learning tools. My doctorate's in that area. And I've been in business since 2017. I kind of fell into it in a way because I had a personal emergency. My husband passed away unexpectedly of cancer. And at the time I was at Booz at the top of my game. And I thought, I just need to be able to control more of my work schedule. So I thought I'd do what I was doing for Booz on my own. Thought it was going to be easier, which crazy me. But I've learned quite a bit over the last 7 years, and I've had a range of clients from, not just federal clients, but also a lot of small businesses, and a lot of nonprofits seem to be kind of attracted to my services. And so I'm joining this program in the hopes that I've been thinking very deeply about trying to narrow my market and potentially going after a certain group of nonprofits, unions, teacher unions in particular, because I find they're working with them to be really super exciting. And I enjoy advocating for educational policies and programs. And so I am exploring that feasibility, if that seems to kind of make sense, and redefining my business. And hopefully this program will help me to do that.
Very nice. Thank you. I don't think we've missed anyone. So just to kind of end this off so that Jim and Bill can take off, we have a Slack channel. I know I sent a text message for you guys to, we sent an email for you guys to join the Slack channel, so please join the Slack channel and introduce yourself on there if you haven't. That's the way that we're going to be able to communicate with one another, in addition to receiving emails from us. So you can actually get to know the other cohort members through Slack, since most of you are virtual. And then the templates that you're going to be using for this program will be on Slack as well. All right. So please join Slack, because you're going to need it for not just communication, but for your templates. All right. That is it for me. Bill and Jim, you guys can take over. Thank you.
I think we're ready. So let's see if I can make this work. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Got it.
No, can you see it? Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'll echo what Akosia said. I'm Jim Franklin. My partner in crime here, Bill Holleran, and I will be going through the next 12 weeks with you with a lot of guest people coming in, from investors to bankers to investment bankers to other subject matter experts and things like that. So it's more than just the two of us, but I do want to introduce ourselves to you. I've been in the venture capital business for the past 3 decades. I'm very old, by the way. I did that after I retired from the Air Force as a fighter pilot and a test pilot with a fairly extensive tech and engineering background. The reason I came to the entrepreneurial world was that myself and 3 partners built a robotic airplane back in the early 90s. And it ultimately ended up being a company that we took public, we bought back, and we sold to the US government, took all that money and formed our venture capital fund, which was called Monticello Capital. So some of you have probably heard of that. And I remain in the venture capital world. I'm managing director of a fund called Winner's Circle Venture Capital, which is myself and my partner, Ralph Sampson, and several other investors on the athlete side and things like that. So we come to you with an investor mindset. And my partner, Bill, I'll let you introduce yourself, but he is one of the smartest humans I know about starting and maintaining small businesses from beginning to scalability. So, Bill.
Let's see. I'm not, am I just talk there? Good morning. Nice to meet all of you. Very interesting short pitches on presentations. I look forward to exploring these further. My name is Bill Holleran. I'm the old guy in the room. Been in business for about 40 years. I helped start the Small Business Development Center in Hampton Roads about 25 or 30 years ago. I went back into private enterprise and have had a fairly successful one, not quite as successful as Jim's, but I've been through 3 or 4 exits and made a little bit of money. I am still actively invested in 3 ventures. When I finished the major exit for me, which was an engineering and construction firm, unlike Jim, about 2 or 3 years ago, the pandemic started and I had maintained an active interest in economic development and small business development. So I just came back to it. It's where I'm going to spend probably the rest of my life or until they kick me out. But large background in economic development. I've worked with hundreds, probably pretty close to thousands of small businesses over the past 30 years, and I look forward to working with all of you.
All right, great. Thank you, Bill. Let me start off with a couple of introductory remarks about how we're going to work the admin of this thing, since it is hybrid. I want to encourage as many of you as can come to the in-person sessions. The networking here in the Innovation Center is invaluable. So it's a good way to get together. And as we move through, try to make as many of these in person as you can. I know the people up in Northern Virginia and everything, that's not an accomplishable ask, but think about it. Just listening to everybody's short descriptions of their business, we have a very wide range of entrepreneurs. What this first course is about is trying to get our arms around what it takes to succeed. And it's more than money or a great idea. As all of you that have been past that stage know, it really is about strategic planning and business organization. The first 5 slides in this show are going to be about philosophy, so bear with me on that. Bill and I kind of have a lot of history to get through. The second 5 are about organizing your business, so I apologize to people that have already organized their business, but this might give you some food for thought. And then the third is very important to everybody, which is structuring the business both operationally and financially. So that's kind of where we are and where we're going. Yay. I want to start by talking about what an incubator program is. Now, the reason I'm doing that is there's a little bit of misunderstanding about incubators versus other kinds of programs. The key to an incubator is the networking. Networking with everybody that's involved in it helps you improve your chances for success. The network only comes together in this series of courses as you are willing to participate. So an incubator in my mind is something different than an innovation center or an accelerator that many of you have heard of. It grows the seeds of the enterprise. It's different than an accelerator or an innovation center because we really do try to teach you to achieve metrics. And this is, you know, I like to think of it as an entrepreneurial graduate school, but at a practical level. So very little of what we're going to talk about is academic, I hope. If you're not asking questions and participating, you're probably not getting the most out of this experience. So what I would tell you is that about every 4 or 5 slides, I'll stop, ask about what people have said in chat. Bill and Tiffany will be monitoring chat. If there's something groundbreaking or if I say something terribly wrong, then they're going to stop me and we'll fix that right then. The entrepreneur's journey, the way I define it, is that you take an idea, you build a plan, and then that plan gets you to profitability. So I know there's probably a few entrepreneurs out there that have nonprofits in mind. I'm not forgetting you, but we're going to focus on the for-profit and the organization of a for-profit and get to nonprofits as a side story. Akosia went kind of through the 12-week program, but let me put it this way. The first month is about building a viable and flexible strategic plan. For those of you that already have a plan, we're hopefully going to improve it. In the second month, we're going to go through marketing and financial strategies to some detail. Bill will be working on that. And then in the third month, we're going to get everybody ready for capital infusion, whether you need it or not. And the reason I say that is that even if you don't think you need capital infusion, writing a business plan that is friendly to venture capital and investors will help you in the long run make sure that your business plan passed muster all the way down the line. Pardon me. So that's a picture of me in my worst state as a venture capitalist. We're skeptical. We're pretty much angry all the time. And we're angry all the time because we lose a lot of money to make a lot of money. So we have a mixed bag on how we succeed. But we do have a standard series of questions that I wanted to start out with. The first one is, how much do you need? The second one is, when do you need it? And the third one is, how are you going to use it? Those 3 questions get answered by successful business people in their business plan. The fourth one is, where does that investment or where does that capital get you? Critical milestones that we'll talk about on slide 12. The big deal is I sit in a room and, if I hear a 15-minute pitch from most entrepreneurs, they're very good at doing those first 4. They're not very good at telling me when they're going to need more, or they say, this is all I need. The reality that I know from past experience is that you're always going to need more capital if you're going to grow. So when will you need more? And then, of course, the last thing that may go unasked, but is always in our mind, is how am I going to get my money back plus some returns? All right, a little more philosophy. I say this because this is how we are going to define all of your businesses based on where you are. The ideation phase are entrepreneurs that innovate and their ideas are going to form a business. So if all you have is an idea, welcome aboard. We're going to get you there. The validation phase determines that your idea has commercial merit. By my count, there were 5 of you that are already past that stage. I think we all can say that we're in the planning phase. What level of planning you're doing is different, but essentially we're building strategic business plans that provide us a roadmap. The next phase is commercialization. That's entering the marketplace. What that means is that you're going to earn revenue. You're going to produce revenue. Most investors say, are you pre-revenue, post-revenue? The next question is, are you in the growth phase, meaning you're already past the break-even point or you're profitable? And then success and sustainability is the last phase. Bill and I are going to spend a lot of time from weeks 9 through 12 talking about how you act when you get in that phase. Here are my definitions only about business size. And the real issue here is, what do you want to be and how do you want to get there? So startups to lifestyle businesses or side hustles are the very earliest stage of business. A lot of people in my world, venture capitalists and money people, tend to degrade lifestyle businesses. I do not. I believe that if you can make a living at your side hustle and it's good enough to support you and your family, that is a great business. The next size, I say, is early stage small business. The next one is profitable growth business. And the last one is scalable growth businesses. I want to define scalable for you because almost every incubator or accelerator that I know of only accepts quote unquote scalable businesses. And you constantly, if you go to venture capital sites, will know that they want to talk only to scalable businesses. The difference in most businesses and becoming a scalable business is that scalable is in the eye of the beholder. Do they want you to scale nationally, internationally? Do they want you to scale regionally or locally? So scalable can mean different things to different people. And I'll go back to define what you want to be and how you're going to get there and tell your own story. These statistics came from the Secretary of Commerce for the state of Virginia in a speech he was given to venture investors like myself. And it was based on the statistics that they had gathered over a decade. 75% of businesses that register in the state of Virginia fail to launch. In other words, they fail to get past just the registration. Of that, 50% of those fail to scale. And of those, 50% are fatally flawed, meaning that they go out of business very quickly. And then of the remainder, 50% fail to sustain profitability. So in terms of if you took 100 companies and registered them in the state of Virginia, 75% by probability are going to fail. So that leaves 25. Of those, 12 are going to fail to scale. That leaves 13. 6 are fatally flawed. That leaves 7. And then 3 will not ever be profitable. That means 4 of you succeed. So what my hope is that we are trying to change those numbers, but I want to make sure that everybody in this cohort and everybody that's going through this course has a much better chance than 4% to succeed. All right, before I go to the overview, do we have anything on chat or any questions that I need to address right now?
No, the only thing that I've already addressed is the replays. There will be, all of the recordings will be uploaded to the YouTube channel every 4 weeks, but everyone will have access to the slide decks on Slack weekly.
Let's see. All right, here's an overview of what I'm going to talk about the rest, and it's going to be kind of a cooperative effort between Bill and myself. I'm going to do most of the talking, but Bill's going to fill in the blanks that I mess up. We're going to start with organizational structures based on who you are in the eyes of regulators, and then personnel organization with a functional org chart, and then a strategic roadmap review, which leads to exit planning within your vision with capital as the enabler, and then defining business requirements. I have a thing called the P-Cube model that helps me think through this as a venture capitalist, which I hope will be helpful to you as an entrepreneur. And then defining strategic capital requirements, how much, for what, when, all of those things apply. But I want to reiterate, even if you don't think you need capital, defining your business plan and building your business plan so it's attractive to capital is going to serve you well. It's sort of like making sure you're dealing with the lowest common denominator, myself being in that category. The first thing I'll say about organizing your company, and to those of you that are already LLCs or already a C Corp or already have your company organized, you already know that getting a good lawyer to get you there is not necessary, but getting some legal advice about when to make transitions and that kind of thing and what they mean is important. The other reason I say it is that I am not a lawyer, and as far as I know, nobody in this room is. So what you're getting from us is practical advice, not legal advice. I think when you start a business, you need to start by being honest with yourself about where you want your business to go or where you want it to end up. And that kind of tells you what sort of organization you need to do. If you are a lifestyle business or you can make a living out of your side hustle, then you're likely going to be a sole proprietorship. That only requires an operating license, usually in most jurisdictions. Your taxes are going to be based on personal income tax. But what you get with a sole proprietorship is a great deal of personal liability risk. So I used to say to my wife, because my first 3 businesses were sole proprietorships, that we were taking some liability risk. And I got insurance policies that covered that. But the reality was that at some point in my family businesses, I had to turn everything into LLCs to limit my liability, which is the next kind of business. Limited liability companies, when should you transition to an LLC from a sole proprietorship? I say it in very simple terms, like I said to my wife. It is at that point when your personal liability puts you at such risk that you need protection. And that is the biggest thing about a limited liability company, is that it does give you personal liability protection. It's fairly simple to file as one in Virginia or Delaware, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. The thing about an LLC is, and remember this because we're going to get to that on the next slide, all the profits in your LLC are distributed to members. So you cannot, in an LLC, really generate liquid net worth in an LLC, because by definition, you've got to distribute everything out to the members. Corporations. Stockholders are the owners. So whoever you sell this to, and I can't remember who it was that crowdfunded.
Jennifer. It was Jennifer.
Jennifer. So she's got 350,000 of crowdfunding out there, which means that she has a lot of shareholders, a lot of owners, and they may be small ones and all that kind of stuff. So when do you transition from being an LLC to a corporation? It's usually at the point where you have a whole lot of members and you need to do that, or, and this is important, your investors demand it. So the reporting requirements of C corporations is a little more extensive than it is for LLCs and that kind of thing. You are going to distribute the profits via dividends as opposed to straight distributions. Boards of directors are required. So there is some team building that you've got to do. The double taxation issue versus LLC treatment is a player. Corporations are taxed as entities. LLCs generally don't owe taxes because they pass all of their profits onto their members who are taxed. So the double taxation comes in an LLC when in the C Corp. C corporation pays taxes, and at the same time you're paying taxes. This has the ultimate personal liability protection. There is no form of business that has greater liability protection than the C Corp. S Corp election, I'm going to leave up to the lawyers to explain to you, but essentially it's only a tax consideration with the same liability protections. Now this last one, the B Corporation, is relatively new, and it is allowed in the state of Virginia. If any of the participants in this cohort or people on this call are filed as a B Corp, we'd like to know it, because Bill and I have not yet met one. The qualifications in Virginia, not just to become a B Corp, but to remain qualified to be a B Corp, are fairly extensive. but it's all dependent on state law. The idea is that this is a new kind of company that's more interested in social consciousness than it is on quote unquote dividends. You can imagine that a B corporation, depending on how the bylaws are written, may not be as attractive to investors that are basically greedy. The bottom line is you need to determine what organization achieves your strategic goals, but not just today, over time. You don't have to become a C Corp today, but you ought to have in your mind when that's going to occur down the road. All right. Second chance for questions. Anything up?
No, because he's answering them in the chat.
Yeah, everything. All right, this is one of my feel-good slides.
Jim,
go ahead.
I'm a C Corp and registered in Delaware, but foreign entity in Virginia. How can I change to Virginia?
Or does she want to?
I would suggest this. You do not want to change to Virginia as a C Corp. There's no real advantage to being a Virginia C Corp over a Delaware C Corp. In fact, the reverse is probably true the bigger you get. And particularly with investors. The Delaware corporate laws are understood by all investors, all bankers, and are accepted by everybody in the US and pretty much internationally. So I wouldn't think you would need to, but let me know if you want to talk about it in more detail. We can get Jennifer Lacey, who is our sort of consulting lawyer, to give you better advice on that.
Can you own an LLC and elect S Corp?
Yes.
That's it.
Okay. This is one of my feel-good slides here. It's a, you know, it's mom and apple pie kind of statement to say that people and teamwork are essential to a business. I take it a step further and say that usually success or failure in a business comes down to people and how well they work together. So I just have to put some pictures up here of people. So people like myself tend to forget that businesses are really people. They're not just things. They're not just money, but the people make a difference.
I have another question.
Yes.
Can a single LLC own a C Corp?
You can own shares in a C Corp, but you can't have a C Corp as a wholly owned subsidiary. Man, 3 law questions. That's scary that I answered them. You all need to get a lawyer. Trust me. Okay. Now I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about building your team. And the reason is, and this applies to everybody, whether you've already got a team built or not. From what I took in my notes, most of you are very small in depth. Your bench is not huge, but you're going to be building a bench as you go through. So I think this section is going to apply to everybody fairly equally. This is a reiteration. I will tell you now that every company I've ever put money in, I made the final decision based on the human beings that were running that company. I always come back to it. So I can love the finance, I can love the products, I can love the market, I can love the business plan. But at the end of the day, I always come back with my investment committee and say, okay, what do we think about the management team? Can they do this? Investors and everybody else, including your customers, have to believe that you're going to build a team that's going to not only succeed, but it's going to last. And I say this to everybody out there that's thinking about forming their management team from the family, from your family. My family owns, we have started and we now own and manage 17 companies. I am the chief financial officer for every one of those companies and have been since I retired from the Air Force. I have siblings and grandchildren and nieces and nephews that are more or less capable of doing business. I think what you have to do is build your team. If you're going to put family members on your team, really pay attention to what I'm going to talk about in the next 5 bullets. Don't have somebody just because they're in your family on the management team. They can own a piece of the company without having to run the company. Determine critical functions. Now, Bill and I just went over this as we were in here. I'm always worried that I'm going to forget some function in a company that needs to be accounted for on either the management team or the operating team. But I think this is pretty much it. Operations, the product and technology, marketing and sales, finance, logistics and distributions, and then a whole bunch of support functions. Critical functions mean to me that I know everything that needs to be done and I'm going to form a team that can accomplish it. So what have I missed? Probably a lot of stuff. Do all of these require a person? The answer is no. Because what do you do if you only have 3 people in your company? Well, you need to make sure all 3 of those people can handle all of these functions. Now, not all together, and you need somebody that's in charge of each one of these functions. And here's my favorite thing. What about if there's only one person in the company? Does that change it? Well, the answer is no, it doesn't change it. It just means that here on this slide, this CEO right here means that you are the chief everything officer. So you are going to do as that single entity all of these functions and be good at it. So in most organizations, you have a board of directors and an advisory board that advises the CEO. The difference between a board of directors is the board of and an advisory board is the board of directors is responsible to the shareholders. And they are the representatives of the shareholders to the rest of the corporation. The CEO is going to manage the corporation and all of those functions and put people in there. Now, I will tell you now that all of you that, particularly those of you that have been around a while and raised a little money, you got all kinds of people that want to be on your advisory board. So you form an advisory board with all these people. I'm going to tell you now that the most time I've wasted in any of my business has been in the care and feeding of advisory boards. Because they're usually marquee people that are high energy sappers and that kind of stuff. So I've learned over the years to say, if you want to be on my advisory board, you have to bring 3 things to me: money, other people that can help me, or you can help me predict what's going to go wrong. That's an advisory board member's portfolio. Boards of directors come from your investors, so you don't have a lot that you can do with them. All right, so what happens if you cannot find a finance person to do finance in your company and you're not all that good at it? How do you, if you cannot afford to hire somebody and put them on the payroll, what do? You hire a consultant, or you go get an accountant and you get an engagement with an accounting firm, that kind of thing. So that's called outsourcing. Outsource what you cannot do and make them part of the team. All right, here's my first time I'm going to deal with nonprofits for you. Nonprofit functional organizations are different. First of all, a nonprofit board or council actually runs the company. And that's a hard thing for people like me to get used to. It's probably why I'm not good at nonprofits. If I'm the CEO, I want to be in charge. But the reality in a nonprofit is I answer to my board, period. Also, there is a thing in nonprofits called development, which is essentially marketing and sales. The people that raise all the donations, that put the events together and do all that. The most important person in a nonprofit organization, I will tell you, is not the executive director in the long run. It's the development director. It's the person that's going to keep you sustainable because they raised the money. All right. Any questions?
Yes.
Go.
Okay, so if we don't have a team and we really can't afford to hire a team, like how can we go about getting a team if, say, I'm the only person that owns the LLC and I don't have any employees or any help? how can I go about getting help if I'm unable to pay certain people? Like,
yeah, okay. So it's a very good question. I'm going to repeat it because I'm not sure the mic picked it all up. Okay. She asked a very, very good question. That is, okay, I'm a single owner of an LLC, or I'm a sole proprietor. I still have all these functions that have to be performed. What do I do if I cannot afford to hire anybody? I cannot afford to outsource. I'm at the very beginning stages of a company. Did I get that right? Yes. Okay. What you have to do, remember that first slide where I said priority, priority, priority? You've got to set your priorities on what's most important to you right now. And you've got to get very good at it and learn as much as you can about it. But if that fails, then I think, this is just me talking, this network that you've just joined is going to provide you mentors and subject matter experts and consultants and a lot of people like that that can help you get much better at each one of those functions. What they're also going to help you do is manage the risk of those functions that you don't know that much about. So you said earlier, you really wanted to get to know about the finance part of the world.
yes.
Well, I can tell you now that between Bill and myself and the other finance people that are here, you're going to get really tired of us telling you how to get better at finance. You're going to be very good at it by the time you're finished here. Okay. That doesn't mean that you won't get an accounting firm. That doesn't mean that you won't get somebody else to help you. But I think for the next 3 months, you're going to get some pretty good free advice on finance. Okay. Did I answer your question? We good? Yes. Okay. Anything else?
So Jennifer said, I have advisors, but we'll need medical advisors. Should these be grouped together? So the medical professionals we are approaching serve a different purpose to the company and are more needy of my time.
Yeah, let me, Jennifer, if I remember right, you're the one that has a medical device for the fertility, a fertility device that is a medical device, and you're at some stage of trying to get through FDA trials. Man. Correct. On the last slide, you're going to get all of my contact information. That is a question that requires some fairly extensive answers. We have a team that we've put together. Doesn't cost you anything before you figure I'm trying to charge you something, but that is in the business. We have 3 pharmaceutical and 2 medical device clients right now that are at the same place you are, have raised a couple of $100,000 and are there. But to get to the crux of your question, the medical advice that you need, that you really at this point can't afford to hire because they ask more questions than they answer usually. I would say to you that in forming your team, you need to find an OBGYN or a fertility doc or somebody like that that can become a very close personal friend, and make sure that they are a good advisor for you. And if that means giving them some fairly substantial equity to do it, it would be worth it. Does that, and Jennifer, come off mute and talk to me so I can know.
Jim, you mean sweat equity there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one advisor who wanted he wanted 25,000 plus stock options, and I said no. We have another guy who came on board that is willing to pay to be on the advisory board, and he's a reproductive endocrinologist in an academic setting, which means he's less out there for the profits. So I'm leaning towards him. But it's just a different nature of the beast than having legal advisors and financial advisors.
Yeah, and I will tell you this, that at some point during the FDA qualification and FDA licensing process, that team of advisors is going to become unbelievably important, because they are essentially the ones that the FDA is going to look to for credibility. So, what I would do is, and I've said this to my 3 pharma companies, is we sort of have a sit down with the advisors and walk through the process we're going to do for the next year to year and a half, and I make them tell me what they're bringing to the table. You know, how are they going to help us get through all of that leading up to, in our case, phase three, excuse me, testing, which is, as you know, that's the point where you need tens of millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands. So
yeah, and we're at that point where we've met with the FDA. They've given us the guidance, so we just need to submit, but we need to raise enough money to submit. So we're just kind of looking for that, stacking the deck to give us some credibility. That, you know, we have fertility experts that have helped us complete this testing when we turn it in.
All right, so Akosha, make sure that we get the consulting team for Jennifer together that can get her through FDA testing. We got Rhonda and myself and 2 or 3 others that we can help you get that plan together, Jennifer. Maybe we'll at least give you a good sounding board.
Okay, thank you.
Just one thing, Jennifer, just hit in chat what part of the state you're in. There are a couple of medical biotech folks in the state that might be helpful coming out of VIMSI.
Did you hear that, Jennifer?
There are a couple. Is that what you said? Sorry,
what part of the state? What part of the
state you're in, so I'll know who to refer you to.
Where are you located?
Oh, I'm in Illinois.
Okay.
So Dr. Rhonda is how I got connected here.
Okay, cool. All right. We good?
Yeah.
All right. If I had to tell you to pick a slide that was what this whole thing is all about, it'd be this slide. So if you're asleep or you're sitting next to somebody that's asleep, wake them up. The investor-friendly business plan is kind of how I describe what I need as a capital investor, but more importantly, it's how I've always written my business plans for my own companies. I want investors to be able to completely understand it. It's got to be simple, direct, and compelling. Here's the other thing it has to be, not long. So there are many companies out there that'll charge you 25 grand to write you a 40 or 50 page business plan. The best business plans I've ever seen are 10 pages or less. And they're accompanied by 4 or 5 pages of financial data or background that get me there. And it's the investor-friendly business plan is good enough for you to run the company flexibly and for me to understand how you're going to do it and where you're going. Here are the critical elements. Now, Bill, in the next 3 weeks, is going to get through this in detail. So I'm not going to spend any time on the detail, but we all agree on the outline. You define your objectives, you define your product and what that product means in the marketplace or its value proposition. You define that market, which leads to producing revenue that lets you write a financial plan. And then you try to get your arms around what requirements you have, and that's not just money. It can be people or money or product or a lot of different things. It also, an investor-friendly business plan also ought to predict what results you're going after. And then the last part of the last element that is critical that most people forget that haven't done it before is what's the ask. Whoever the audience is that's going to read your business plan, you need something from them or you wouldn't have shown them the plan. Don't forget this. I always, I think it's the 9th week, we're going to talk about investor pitches. And I start out that week by saying, just tell your story. I don't really care what the outline is or anything else, but if you're not telling your story about your vision and how you're going to succeed, you're lost and you're not going to make an impression on people that matter. That leads us to what is your definition of success? It doesn't have to be somebody else's. If your definition of success is, I want to make $150,000 a year take home in the next 3 years in my lifestyle or my side hustle, that's good enough.
We have 2 questions.
Hang on. Here are the key elements in a simpler way. Here are the key questions you ought to be asking that get you to a strategic plan. What am I selling? Who's going to buy it? How much are they going to pay? Can I make a living at it if they pay what they tell me they are? And can I get enough of them to do it? And then finally, who's going to invest or who would put money in this? And I will say that all of these questions, my mother was my sounding board. And if I couldn't convince my mother that I had a good idea, it was not going to make it in the family businesses because we were already making money at the other one. So every time I came up with this new whiz bang thing, my mother was the person that was the sanity check. Okay, so question.
All right, first question is, what are the best resources to obtain market and industry information? Free resources.
Wow. Who asked it and where are they from?
Rosalind.
I can help with that.
Rosalind from Virginia.
Okay, you go ahead.
So, Rosalind, first of all, I don't want to give the impression that everything in the world can be found for free, but the Innovation Center has a relationship with the Small Business Development Center, and we do have access to some marketing research databases, IBIS, and things like that. If you tell me the particular industry that you're looking for, I would reduce that to and we can explain this the next week's, to a NAICS code that identifies that and produce for you the industry reports that are available from that for free. National associations in the business that you're in often have extensive market and industry information. In the end, you're defining a demographic for consumers, or you're defining a list of government contracts or a list of businesses. Those things may not ultimately be free once you find out where to go get them. But don't discount the ability to write all kinds of questions into Google search and come up with some of your answers as well.
And I want to add, thank you, Bill. The SBA website, let me send you there and look up small business resource and that kind of thing, particularly on market research. So in addition to what Bill said locally, that they can produce that for you, the SBA site is a really good starting place for all the elements of a business plan. The second thing is right here in Norfolk, and I'm sure this is true of just about every place in the world, public libraries have become very good as resource centers for business research. The Slover Library here in Norfolk is one of the best I've ever seen in the world. You can go in, get an expert, ask a question, and they're going to point you to a resource that is free, that is in the library, that you can get pretty much every bit of market detail that you need. The other one I suggest to you are organizations like Black Brand, which is the Hampton Roads African American Chamber of Commerce, chambers of commerce, and those kind of places can define local markets for you better than some of the other resources. Bill and I are going to talk about resources for market research in the next 2 weeks. So I'm not putting you off. I'm just saying get ready for more detail that'll make your head spin.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand you said that the best business plan, or what you prefer for a business plan, would be 10 pages or less.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why the requirement to get to this program, the application only asks for a 3-page business plan? Like, wouldn't you say that's too short? Or no?
Not necessarily. We want 3 pages so that we know that you can encapsulate your business in a relatable way. Because here's what's going to happen. That 3 pages is going to add finance to it, which is 5, and a 5-slide presentation to investors. Magic, 5 plus 3, it gets to about 10 pages. Okay.
Does the business plan account for lean startup methodology where MVP and market or product validation are still in progress as the focus of startup discovery? A detailed business plan that has too much detail might be 80% invalid in the discovery stage.
That's true. Did that come from Akosha?
Nope, that came from Dennis.
Okay, so Dennis, you just described Akosha's week 5 class, but you are absolutely correct.
That's funny.
That's why I think that while you are still discovering who your actual direct market is or who your target market is, the customer discovery process is still going on. That does not mean that you won't define your idea as part of your business plan and then refine it as you go through to make it even more detailed, but detail without length. So Bill is going to talk about how do you get from total addressable market to target market to the capture of that market at a price that turns into revenue. I hope that answers this question. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Why am I talking about exit or harvest for investors? The reason is that almost every single good business plan that I know of has some idea of where the company's going and a definition of what that horizon looks like out there. So the strategic roadmap that we're trying to show you how to develop is a result, it results in a fully developed company with capital value. That doesn't mean you have it right now. And as Dennis pointed out, it does not mean that you even know definitively what your market is. But if your assumptions pan out, then you're going to have a fully developed company with capital value at the end of your strategic plan. The process starts with defining your goals. And in my world, there are three kinds of strategic goals. Operational goals, how are you going to run the company to get where you want to be? Financial goals, how are you going to pay for it? How much is it going to make? All those kind of goals. And then end game definition, which is that exit or harvest planning that we're going through. We have just now covered how to develop your business strategy. So on the last slide and this slide put together kind of tells you how to develop a strategic roadmap. Now we're going to discuss what investors and funders look for, capital requirements, enabling capital results on the strategic roadmap. Where does my money get you? And then strategic capital needed for the life of the enterprise. I would suggest to you that you start by phasing your business, phase 1 through phase whatever. And from that, develop what you are going to believe in as strategic milestones. And then define what capital or outside resources it's going to take to achieve those milestones. Here's how I go about defining requirements. And I apologize a little bit about this because I know it's very specific to my business, my investment, what my family businesses have done, but give me credit for 3 decades worth of doing it, that most of this has worked out. I have a thing that I have dubbed the P-cubed model, and it is my guide for analyzing businesses and doing a lot of things. There are 3 P's: people, product, profit. And they're listed in that order because, in my opinion, that's the importance of them. People represent 50% of my judgment to invest in a company or not. Product is another 30%. And only 20% of the P-cube model drives my investment decision, and that is profit. So let's talk about people. What skill sets are critical to your business and getting it done? When are you going to need them? How much are you going to pay them? And then produce that functional organization chart, knowing that in an early stage business, you never have enough people. So that question's been asked and answered. Product. There are a lot of different types of product. And by the way, by product, I also mean services. So if you're a consulting company or something like that, then product means services. You have to figure out on your product how to get to prototype or minimum viable product, and from there to scale. The easiest way, in my opinion, as a startup company, is to figure out how you're going to prove or concept prove your product is through pilot projects and partners. I think that part of everybody's world about product has been brought forward. Its importance have been highlighted in the past year, and that is distribution and logistics. The supply chain and all of the distribution and logistics problems we're having in this country have highlighted the fact that you can't just develop a product, you got to figure out how to put it in somebody's hands. Profit. Profit drives capital to you or away from you. So here's some of the things that your capital is going to do. It's going to get you through R&D. In Jennifer's case, it's going to get her through FDA testing. It's also going to pay for startup costs. How much working capital do you need before you are profitable? And then the last one is marketing and promotion. Those are the three main things that capital is used for to get you to profit. Now, I know I've missed a lot of things, so let's stop and get some questions now. No, I thought I saw one up there about percentages.
Everybody's been answering them.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you for everybody answering. Anything? No? Here's a review of what your strategic roadmap ought to look like. I talk about 5 phases. Now yours can be different. I don't care, but these are fairly generic phases, the way the business world looks at it. Phase 1 is always developing some sort of product, prototype, service offering, whatever you want to call it, and defining it. Phase 2 is defining how you're going to enter the market. Phase 3, I call the break-even point. That means you're in the market, you're making enough money, and you are just about to be profitable. Those 3 phases have already been gone through by 4 of the people that are on this call. I didn't see anybody that couldn't use that is not going to be in phase 4 and phase 5, which is market consolidation and growth in phase 4, which means we really put our footprint down and we are somebody. And then phase 5 is how do we sell the company? What's our exit event? What are we doing to get our investors' money back to them? That kind of thing. Within those phases, you need to define critical milestones in the development of your company going through. These are just my ideas. And I come to this by my first venture firm, Monticello. We made about $80 million worth of investments before we figured out that we really needed not just to provide money to these companies, but we needed to provide help. We needed to bring people into the act that could protect our investment and help them grow the company. We created this milestone list so that we could leave businesses alone to run their company and to report back to us when they'd done this. So minimum viable product. When, as a software company, did you reach minimum viable product enough where you could go out and find users? Product demonstration, customer discovery, pricing, and demand validation. Those 3 things tell me as an investor that you're ready to be in the market. And then who are your critical partners and teaming partners going to be, and what milestones are they going to help you achieve? Now, I apologize for having the longest milestone be financial, but that's who I am. I think that these 4 things are the milestones that people that put money in your company look at. One is, when are you going to produce revenue? When are you going to be profitable? And how are you going to sustain that profit? When do we define success that way? The last thing is, of course, I care about when am I going to get my money back? I'm going to throw a slide up now that kind of encapsulates all of this strategic roadmap. And I apologize a little bit about it being in tabular form, but it's the easiest way that I could organize this and bound it using all these components. All right, nobody let your head explode. I'm going to make this a little simpler. So at the top half, these are the phases that we just talked about on the slides before. If you go across a 5-year plan, this is kind of what I've learned over time is where you are. It takes a year to enter the market. It takes another year to break even. And then in years 3 and 4 is when we see the growth really occur and money starting to be made and everybody getting comfortable. You've got a full up team. You've got everybody going. You know all your marketers. And then in year 5 is where we start seeing that there's a potential for exit or a potential for me to get my money back as an investor or for you to take some money out of the company as an owner, okay? Now, I bring this up because if you are a very early stage or a startup company, you're gonna run into, I call them vulture investors, but they are my counterparts in the venture world who say something like, I tell you what, I'll put $1 million in your company for 50% of it because I'm gonna exit in 3 years. Or I need you to work towards exiting in 3 years or getting there. Anybody in an early stage investment that has less patience than 5 to 7 years is not somebody you want to get in bed with. They are not somebody whose money you want to take. You are being doomed to failure. Okay, bottom half. I put the green little square around this one because this is the money and stuff. If you look down the left side, these are the things that are important that I listed on the slide before. You know, money, people, things, partners, that kind of stuff. On the money side, in the first year, you're looking for seed or angel money. When we're breaking even and looking to start growth, we're looking for A round funding. A rounds are millions of dollars. B rounds are 5 to 10 millions of dollars. So you can see what kind of money you're looking to go after in those phases. People, all we're going to have in the first year is the C-suite. And whether we call it, you know, CFOs or CMOs or CEOs or whatever, it's people, very few people that are going to handle all the functions. And then in years 2 and 3, we're looking at bringing our marketing and sales team up and running together. That's the focus. And then years 4 and 5, you end up with logistics and people that you can bring on board. Up to that point, you're outsourcing a lot of stuff. Partners. You don't want any partners in the first year as a startup because partners take away from your company. They're going to turn you into a subsidiary and they're going to kind of define for you what your business plan is. In the second and third year, remember when you're breaking even, you're looking for channel partners. Anybody in here tell me what a channel partner is? A channel is usually a piece of the market that a partner can enter you into. So a channel partner might be Walmart at its biggest level. And then in years 4 and 5, you're looking at partners that can bring on merger and acquisition. They may be equals that you want to merge with. They may be somebody that wants to buy your company, that kind of thing. Okay, food for thought. I'll let you look at this horribly scary picture and then see if do we have any questions up to now.
Nope, we're good.
I have no idea what kind of bird this is, but I love the picture. This is how I feel about 3 or 4 days a week when I'm in the venture business because I have no idea what I'm looking at and I feel like I'm completely out of my realm. Okay. I want to talk about flexibility because people like me and details people and, you know, we tend to make you think that we want you to write a business plan that is hard and fast. A good business plan has to be flexible enough for you to do some changes as you go through. The key is knowing what changes need to be made when. So what I say is, in your business planning, make sure you have clear and achievable objectives, because if that is maybe the one thing that you're not going to be flexible about, the objectives. Have a realistic roadmap, and I do not mean in time, because nobody can predict the time in an early stage business very accurately. Make sure your roadmap has those milestones though, and make sure they are realistic. Realistic means achievable. If you've written a milestone that you cannot achieve, not necessarily in time, but you just can't get there from here, then it's not realistic. That allows you some flexibility, because if you know you can reach a thing, how you do it becomes your flexibility. How you get there is the flexible part. I taught a course at Harvard Business School. I'm actually going back there to teach it this year, but I bring that up not to be a name dropper about Harvard, because they are probably the least smart business people I know. But I bring it up because the course I taught was, how does small business identify risk? And then second part, how do you manage that risk or mitigate the risk? And I divide risk up into 3 areas, just like I do everything else. There's people risk, there's product risk, and there's profit risk. And then I figure that out. But how you identify risk and what you're going to do about that risk is probably the key to your flexibility. In early stage business, my opinion only, Bill can weigh in here, you have not found out who your competitors are. And you enter a thing thinking that you have an exclusive advantage, and you find out there are 100 other people doing it. That's a huge risk. So you mitigate that risk by doing adequate research to find out what the competitive landscape looks like. And you manage it then by saying, I do have some advantages, and here are my advantages, and that's how I'm going to exploit this. Risk management is the hardest part. Go ahead. I have a question. Yeah.
Keisha is asking, she said she has the business model generator, the book. When you were talking about the channels, are you referring to the channels from that book?
Yes, in part. The channel partners that I'm talking about are entities that you and your business team with to work within a market channel. So let's take Sheeta, the artisan jeweler, okay? The channel that she is in the marketplace right now is local retailers. So if she can team with other channel partners that maybe do jewelry that's different than hers to enter the market in a bigger way, then that's a value add partnership within a channel. So Keisha, don't come off mute if you need to. Does that answer the question? I hope.
Yeah, it answers the question. It's just that I know I already have the book, and I've been through some of those exercises with identifying your customer channel and marketing channel. So I was just trying to clarify.
Yeah, it is the same, but we go into it in a little different kind of detail, where when I say channel partner, I'm looking for who can you bring on board with you to help you exploit that channel. So very good question. All right. The fourth key to flexibility in my mind is that you have a logical financial plan. Not detailed, not perfect. There are going to be mistakes, but your financial assumptions should be logical and believable to people like me. And let me give you an example of what is not logical. I have an item that I'm going to sell for $5 million. And I'm going to market that to the world at large. There's a basic disconnect there. The world at large cannot afford to buy something for $5 million. So my financial plan needs to take that into account. Another thing is, it doesn't make sense sometimes for a business to do a 5-year pro forma or a 5-year financial plan, because their market is changing so much so quickly that only 3 years makes sense. So have a logical financial plan. Logic means that when something goes wrong, you know what the logical train of thought is, and you can make it, you can change your plan. When all else fails, make sure that you keep straight in your mind and your entire team's mind the priorities that your business are going after. What's important, at what level, and when. And then the last thing, again, I will apologize for this because my special ops background, we had everything that we did in special operations was overcome by events. Either the enemy didn't cooperate, or we didn't have something we needed, or we were late or early or whatever. But our marching orders, or the way that we dealt with it to be flexible, was that we said adapt, improvise, and overcome. And business is the same. But for business, I had a fourth, and that is persevere. If you have good objectives, you have good priorities, you know what your plan is, and it makes logical sense to you, sometimes you just need to keep at it. Don't let somebody talk you into quitting if it doesn't make sense to you. All right, last chance for questions. Here's what you should have gotten out of today and be able to deal with. One is, hopefully you've got a functional organizational chart in your mind. And for those of you that don't have a lot of people, you know how you're going to do those things and where you're going to go with it, okay? And then, oh, and also, if that functional organization chart example that I gave you does not fit your business, feel free to knock one of those rectangles out. If you don't need it, don't. I mean, you know, okay. Your strategic capital requirements. I do not expect any of you, well, a few of you already know what they are, but the bulk of the people on this, in this cohort, are going to have to determine how much they need, when they're going to need it, where it's going to get them, and when they're going to need more over the length of this program. But start thinking about it. Think about what your capital requirements could be. Hopefully we'll help you develop key milestones with timing and measures of success that will get you past key obstacles and risks in your strategic roadmap. All right, I'm going to open it up for discussion here in a second, but I think that the two things that you ought to have firmly in your mind when we meet next week and Bill takes over is an idea of what your organization is going to look like, an idea of what you think your capital is going to be required, and I think you ought to nail down some strategic steps in the roadmap of your business to get you to some place that you think is good.